Sometimes you discover unexpected gifts when hopping from place to place on the internet, and I landed on Relevant Magazine's site, which I've since made a favorite and visit often. But there I noticed an interview with Audrey Assad. I met her once at a concert. She will not remember this, but it was just such a funny moment, and putting this moment alongside of this very thoughtful, artistic woman is just quite funny for me. She was in Fort Wayne at a church. She was with Matt Maher and traveling with some other male musicians. And when I went into the room that had been set aside as the green room for them to kind of crash in before the concert, we were praying with them. And when I walked in, she looked up and she said, "It smells like guys in here." And that matter-of-fact statement just cracked me up. The relevant article that I read, though, focused on Audrey's new album that highlights the simple beauty of hymns. And after reading what she had to say and then watching the sumptuous videos, the music videos, I thought her insights were so worth considering. She's the daughter of a Syrian refugee, an author, a speaker, producer. She's a critically lauded songwriter and musician. She's spoken about art and faith and womanhood, justice, and most notably pornography addiction at Catholic and evangelical events such as Q Ideas, focus conferences, and more. And we're delighted she's with us this morning. Good morning, Audrey Assad. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very well. Thank you for starting your week with us here on Mid-Morning. You grew up in the Plymouth Brethren tradition. How did the old hymns shape not only your faith, but the music that you make, even apart from this hymns project?
Well, it really was where I learned to sing and harmonize. And as you say, the hymns that you sing as a child shape your faith. I learned a lot about what to believe about God in times of trouble through those songs, because they were the things I remembered. Things that you set to music are the things that you remember the longest. And so all those scriptures and ideas about God's faithfulness and his never-changing love were cemented in my mind by melodies.
It really is this reservoir that you don't even have to necessarily sort of release. It happens on its own. And I think that's a real gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I really, whatever the imperfections of my upbringing, I look back with such fondness on those times of singing together, because it was so special and unique in today's musical landscape to be in a room full of people that the only music being made is with the human voice, and all of this sort of discord fades away for a moment when people are singing together.
Yes.
And I really love that. I miss that a lot, actually.
I found it really interesting that you crowdfunded this album and your last one. Did you sort of feel like a missionary raising support?
It kind of does feel like that. More importantly for me, though, it was about connecting with the people who buy my albums, because if you put out an album traditionally, which I've done, before and will do again, you have no idea really who is buying your music and who is enjoying it. And one of the beautiful things about crowdfunding is you get to see their faces. They tell you things there's sort of these ways they can, message you and talk about the project. And so I feel that both experiences on Kickstarter and Pledge Music gave me more of an idea of who my core audience is and what they're like and what they love, and so I found that to be the biggest draw.
Did their investment give them the opportunity, or do they feel like, okay, since I'm investing, I really want to have a little bit of a say in possibly the hymns that Audrey would choose? Were they able to voice their opinion?
Yes, they were. We made it really easy for them. We put a bunch of hymns on these pick 3 type of surveys, and people ranked their favorites, and I took that very heavily into consideration when picking the song list, because I felt like, well, it's an album of hymns, it would make sense to me that there would be some corporate decision-making going on here.
And yet, the album contains 2 original songs, so why did you take on that creative venture, and how did that fit with the beloved standards from the hymnal?
Well, I had originally thought I wouldn't write any songs, and then I had 2 very kind of compelling ideas, and so my one criteria, I guess, for the 2 of them was if they were going to fit into this group of songs, they had to at least quote or reference hymns that I sang as a child. So both of them do. I just kind of couldn't keep the ideas down or push them out of my mind, so they just made their way on there after I tried to replace them with standards and couldn't really see my way clear to do so.
So tell us about those two songs and how they connect to a hymn.
So New Every Morning, I actually wrote like 4 or 5 years ago, actually, with Matt Maher in a writer's room in Franklin, Tennessee, and it in the bridge of the song, it's sort of an overlooking, like a bird's eye view of salvation history, I guess. It's one of those types of songs, which is, again, it's kind of akin to a hymn. There are lots of hymns like that. But the bridge quotes the hymn at the cross. It says, at the cross where I first saw the light, kind of pointing to the cross as the focal point of human history. And so that was how I fit this New Every Morning in. And then Even Unto Death, which I also wrote with Matt Maher, I quote a hymn I grew up singing. The hymn was called Jesus, the Very Thought of Thee. And the verses in Even Unto Death are basically just paraphrasals of that song.
I want to play Holy, 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 and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Audrey's project. Audrey Assad, Holy, 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 from her Inheritance Project. We have 2 to give away, and we'll do that right now to callers 5 and 6 who haven't won anything on Mid-Morning in the past 60 days. If that's you, call us right now, 260-745-9090, 260-745-9090, callers 5 and 6. Audrey, that has kind of a Braveheart feel to that. Is that part of the joy of recording something that somebody knows and making it a whole different experience or a way of experiencing God? Yeah,
it's part of the challenge and the joy of it. I really enjoyed sort of taking that on. I wanted to be reverent to the songs because I know that, people have long-standing relationships with these pieces. But it was such a creative opportunity to reframe them emotionally and sort of, because that song is so, the lyrics are so high level and theological, and they don't have a very personal feel to them. But I really tried to put a lot of feeling and emotion into that track and try to bring it home, for a person. And it did it for me, So when I hear it, I feel such I think hopeful is the name, of the feeling that I feel is there. And so it makes me feel that way, listening to it. And so I really enjoyed that part of the challenge. It's a very personal song. You talked about the high theology of it, but that one phrase, though the darkness hide thee. That is such a universal experience. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And I know for me, at the time of recording it, I was deeply kind of engaged in a story, a girl that I know who was born with a very complex anatomy, and she was having, it was one of those moments for her parents where they weren't sure if this was the end, and the song has nothing to do with her lyrically, in any specific way, but I remember I was praying for her so hard while we were making it, and I feel like that came through in the music, even if it doesn't say anything about her or mention her by name. It's like she was stamped on the song in some way, and I think the suffering of a mother with a sick child, who loses a child. I heard your caller earlier talk about her friend Meg, and I think that is probably one of the moments where you most feel like the darkness hides God, Indeed, but He's there. Holy, 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 be thou my vision. I wonder as I wander. Oh, the deep, deep love of Jesus. Just a few of the songs on the Inheritance Project by Audrey Assad. And the videos are these sort of sumptuous movies that go along with that, so be sure to check those out as well. Visit her website. We've linked to it from our weekly schedule page. Audrey, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. That does it for today's Mid-Morning. Join us tomorrow. Kurt Thompson is our guest. We talk about shame and things of the mind with this Christian psychiatrist, so join us for that. Stay tuned. Ken Church is next on Family Friendly and commercial-free WBCL.